How y'all doing today? This is Navy fullback Shawn White.
On a first down, it's a give to the fullback, Shawn White. All day to run for White, bursting across the East Carolina 20-yard line. White, who has a run of 60 in the game, will get the football back. Shawn White with a hurdle. Shawn White with daylight. And the senior will score for Navy his 4th touchdown of the season. White with blockers in front. Scored the last touchdown for Navy. Still churning, and White is into the end zone. It's the fullback White. Touchdown Navy. They're 8th on the ground, and White's 3rd of the game.
Efficient defense.
But the man has gotten free. Shawn White, who had a huge game last week, works his way to the end zone for Navy.
Shawn White, former Navy fullback. Today we're going to go inside the minds. I'm going to take you guys through the Navy offense, reads, why it's so hard to block the Navy offense in general, things he looks for as a fullback, and kind of his experience going through the Navy offense through his time at the academy. Now back then, we were obviously pretty good. We ranked top 25 our sophomore and junior year. And the senior year, we were also pretty good. I think 9-4 our senior year. Winning his class in Navy history, so he knows what he's talking about. I know they're not that good right now, but one thing I want him to touch on is kind of like how the change happened. So right, we were pretty good back then. Why are they not succeeding now? And what can they do to get back to where we were during our time at the academy? So Shawn, go ahead and introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about you.
What's up, YouTube? Shawn White out of Staten Island, New York. Played some high school ball down in Palm Coast, Florida. Like Cameron said, I was a fullback at the United States Naval Academy, class of 2017. Also did some coaching for the Naval Academy and the Naval Academy Prep School to follow for about 2.5 years. Since then, I've been doing some liaisoning, game breakdown, film breakdown for various high schools. I actually just got hired on as an offensive coordinator over here in Oregon recently for a high school with the regular triple option, so the inside veer to the fullback.
Now, in my opinion, like, you guys always came out in normal to start the game unless it was like an Army, Navy, or Air Force game. Then you guys kind of changed it up. Is that correct?
Yeah, for the most part, you want to kind of see how the defense is going to set up to the option. Everybody runs their defense a little bit differently to it. So what we're looking for as an offense is for numbers. So if you take an imaginary line and split it down the center's head, you're going to count left to right how many people are on one side and how many people on the other. So as you see here, it's a base defense. So we've got 6 people on the left, we got 5 people on the left side and 5 people on the right side with a single high safety. So that means that this defense is even. So I've got 5 people on the left, 5 people on the right. Now, the good thing about the triple option is I'm not blocking 2 people. So on each side, I only have to account for 3 blocks. So we're running this play to the right-hand side. So you see we got a 3 technique above the guard. So if we were running this, there's a couple of different ways that you can block this. How the game's gonna run, you're gonna get a single block from number 62, your guard. He's gonna single block that defensive tackle. You're gonna be reading the defensive end and the outside backer. Running this play, I would actually not run it to the right-hand side.
And why is that?
If I'm running this play, I want to run it to the left-hand side because of how the defensive line is set up. So because I have a 2 wide on the left-hand side, that's a much easier block for that guard to make as a single block because he's already got leverage to the B gap. Right, and in a video game, it's much harder to make your individual cuts left and right, especially when you only have 3 yards between the handoff and the line of scrimmage. So it's a much easier read to make when that guy is all the way across the line of scrimmage. And it's also easier for as a fullback for you to make those inside cuts because now you really don't have to read that guard too many times. Because for me, as a fullback, my first read is going to be that first guy inside the read key. So what I mean by that is our read key here is number 93 of the 5 technique. I'm going to be reading number 75. He's already inside leverage. For the most part, I know I'm going to be hitting that B gap hard because my guard already has leverage.
So that guard's gonna crash him down, and you're gonna hit right off his backside.
Right off his backside. And if number 75 crosses his face all the way over, that's going to be a pretty easy read to then go inside of him. Now, if you do that on the right-hand side, like we were running it previously, it makes it a little bit harder because that guy's already sitting in the B gap.
Yeah.
So he's got outside leverage. So normally, a lot of times, what you would see real triple option teams do here is double, and you could make that change. Through here, you can go ahead and double team and decide to double team that guy. It'll actually help you out with the read if you were running the ball the other way out.
I think it was Ryan Jenkins. He had a big gash against Ohio State. It was the wingback dive that was hitting against Ohio State our sophomore year. If you remember that game.
Yep, I do remember that one.
So what's so good about the wingback dive and the rocket toss after these formations that makes it hard to defend?
So the wingback dive is it's not necessarily a counterplay, but it breaks the rules of what you're doing as your eye discipline as a triple option, right? What you see a lot of times, especially in video games, you start gashing people with the triple option, and they start rotating their safeties and their linebackers over to where that motion is coming. So if I've got motion coming one way, and then I'm bringing a dive back the other way, I've got the defense moving away from where I'm actually going. So in the wingback dive, I would actually want to run that to the 3 technique side because I'm trying to gash right between that A gap. So I'm going to pitch the ball because I'm just making more room and more separation between the defense and the offensive player. So once that starts happening more and more often, you're going to see people start sliding towards the motion.
Right.
So you'll see that person take the middle linebacker and go, or the backside backer and go, or the safety, and we'll have the safety start rolling down, that middle field safety start rolling down towards that motion. And then what you'll see is the triangle icon will come right behind that 2-eye. And if everybody's rotating with that motion that you're seeing on the other side, that's leaving the backers open for our linemen to climb up to them, get some really good blocks. And you're talking about really, really big play potential.
So take me to the mind of like Coach Jasper, right? So let's say the guys are rotating down, right, clogging the box now. When do you decide to go to an over-the-top pass play, right? We don't pass often, but when we do, it's either obviously something to Jameer really quick or something over the top in our case, right? So when do you decide to take that shot down the field based on the defense?
Honestly, a lot of it has to do with the feet, right? So you're going to start to see teams start pushing up, pressing coverage, right? And you start to lose discipline, right? The big thing about the triple option is discipline. So if you're in practice, the only thing you can really practice against is the triple option because it's something you're not used to seeing every day, right? Everybody sees the regular route tree every practice because every team runs the route tree. You're always going to see basic zone plays because everybody does that. When you run against the triple, if I'm practicing against it, I really only have time to rep against the triple. And you don't get it at the same speed that you're going to see it in the game. It's the reason why the best teams at defending the option are Navy, Army, Air Force, Notre Dame, because they see it all the time. And for the service academies, we see it every day. So once that discipline starts to go, like I said before, if people start getting out leveraged to the outside, what you'll start to see is those safeties start to creep up, those cornerbacks start to creep up. So right now you see that the cornerback is sitting about 8 yards off the ball.
Yeah.
This isn't the time where we would go ahead and try to over-the-top pass play, proponent of taking a shot on the first play. Because if I come out as Navy and I come out in this formation, there's a lot of people that are going to play press coverage, and it's a nice, easy toss over the top. One place you'll also see some really good holes is if you run. There's a couple of play-action plays where the dive rolls pretty quickly, and you'll have your A-back shoot right up the seam.
Yeah. So if call time out real quick, because I think there's a play that I run a lot. Choose a new play. I think it's in the it's under center. It's in the tackle over and go down. Wide receiver corners. I run this play a lot.
So what the play that I like to use to set, we'll come right back to this. The play that I like to set up in this one is the triple out of this. So actually, excuse me, it's the counter option. We'll rip this. Right, so I like to set that play up because it's one of the only plays in the playbook that get motion going one way and then the option coming back the other way. So what you do is you start to play these games to get those corners and linebackers and safeties to start moving. Because you know every user you play against has their position. Some like to play at safety, some like to play at backer.
Right.
But you start rolling that play, and you start to have those guys move. You're not expecting that play, especially a quick right up the seam play, just like you were talking about. So if I've got these motions that are rolling, I've got people expecting to come hard now. Those linebackers are going to step up real quick. I also love play action seam plays. So there's about 3 or 4 play action plays with a straight fullback dive where I've got one of the A-backs shooting right up the seam, and those linebackers step up because you're running the ball 5, 6, 7 straight times. They're going to keep expecting the run, especially on first and second down. So you know, you get a nice, decent gain on a second down play, and you get the 2nd and 3. Right, if you feel so inclined, that might be a great time to try one of these plays, some things.
Now, can you talk about? So we were pretty good, right, throughout our years. How were we able to beat some of those juggernauts? You know, number 5 ranked Houston. We beat Memphis when they were ranked with Paxton Lynch and Antonio Gibson and all those guys. We beat Notre Dame. How are we able to do that and stay competitive with those high-powered teams with a lot of 4 or 5-star recruits without having those guys ourselves on our team?
So it's going to sound really cliched, but discipline, right? We limited our mistakes, so we didn't turn over the ball very often. We didn't get penalties against us very often. We put ourselves in the right spot, and sometimes we got beat, right? You know, they're great athletes on the other side of the ball, and sometimes even when you put yourselves in the right spot, you get beat. But we put ourselves in a spot to not have negative plays, right? So what happens is a lot of these great teams with really good athletes, they're used to being able to out-performing other players. But the triple option forces you to slow down and think, right? So, I mean, you talk about playing Memphis and Notre Dame. I remember when we played Pitt, and anybody who knows Pitt back then, they had a guy by the name of Aaron Donald. And everybody knows one of the greatest defensive players of all time. Aaron Donald was a beast in college.
Yep.
And we were able to neutralize him, not necessarily stop him, but neutralize him because we blocked him 8 different ways and then didn't block him. So he can take on a double team with the best of them. And if you're going to double team him every play, he's going to figure out what he needs to do in order to stop that double team. You can't show great players like that the same look every time. But if I come and double team you one play, and then I leave you as my read key the next play, so now I'm not blocking you, so I'm not blocking 2 people. helped us.
You guys also played Ed Oliver too. Who hit harder, Ed Oliver or Aaron Donald?
Oh, Aaron Donald. I still remember that hit from Aaron Donald. Nah, Ed wasn't. He wasn't a slouch at all. And I mean, he played head up nose.
Yeah.
So he was a beast himself. But I mean, AD was completely different animal.
Was that your freshman year?
I think that was our sophomore year.
Oh, was that the bowl game?
Yeah, it was the
Bowl game. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's when you had the halfback, the fullback pass, right?
Yeah, that was the worst pass.
Now White in the backfield, he's looking to throw. Right back to Reynolds, who goes and makes the grab. And he could go. One man to beat, and they'll get him from behind inside the pit 30.
I gotta find a clip of that and put it in the video. It was the ugly pass, but it got completed.
Hey, look, I'm gonna be real with you. You know I can throw the ball.
I know you can.
Them fullback pads are not built for throwing the football.
Now, what was it like playing with Keenan Reynolds, who played in the NFL for a little bit and then went to the XFL?
He was very cerebral about the way that he went about game prep, right? And with the triple option, especially the mesh between the fullback and the quarterback, that's very timing based, right? So the quarterback's got to get his feet set, feet down, ball back. Fullback's got to be through the dive as fast as they can. The ball's got to be out by the time it gets to the front hip of the quarterback so that the quarterback can get out and actually get to his next progression in his read. And that's something that we rep. I mean, if I tell you I've run a mesh maybe 100,000 times, that wouldn't be that far-fetched, right? Like, it's something that you rep and rep, and just how cerebral he was about his approach and doing everything, getting his feet down in the same spot every time, understanding where every position was supposed to be, knowing if the guard made a wrong step, knowing if the A-back was taking a bad path, knowing if the fullback was too tight or too wide on their track.
So, what would you say makes Navy different now, right? Because I feel like the last 3-4 years we've been on like a really bad slouch. Is it only the quarterback? Is it the O-line? Is it the defense? What makes Navy, and rest in peace, Kenny Mazzololo got a new head coaching job, but he got fired as well. What makes Navy so bad or hard to play with now versus when we were playing?
So I think there's a couple of factors. So the first factor I think is conference play. So going from being an independent where our schedule was made every year for us differently, you know, we obviously played our Commander-in-Chief Trophy games, the Air Force, Army, and Notre Dame. Pretty much every year we played a different slate of teams.
Yeah. So
they didn't have an opportunity to really game plan or practice against a triple, right? If I'm a coach, I'm not putting, 40, 50, 60, 70 hours in a week into learning how to defend the triple option because, I'm only going to see this team one time. We're going to try to just be bigger, stronger, faster than them, make plays and hope for the best. But going into conference play now, we're playing teams over and over and over again. So these teams are planning and have all seasons to work against the triple option. We had a
lot of transfers.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about our sophomore year, we probably had about 3, 4, maybe 5 guys who had the talent to really be able to go and play in the league. Practice squad players and guys that could actually get on the field. Our junior year, you got Keenan that came out, you got Chris Swain that came out. My boy Quentin, he could have done something as a fullback in the league. Like we had guys on the offense and defensive side that could have really done something at the next level. And you talk about our senior year. I mean, our starting quarterback Toggle got hurt in the first week.
Yeah.
And don't tell him I said this, but that's one of the best athletes I ever met in my entire life.
Nah, for sure, 100%.
I'm not allowed to tell him that to his face.
You know what's funny? Somebody in my command who I worked with, Ellis from Oxidine before he checked out, he was on the first ship with Tago, and he said Tago did every single sport on the ship for the team and was their captain for every single sport on the ship.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Jameer had great hands. Was a great route runner. He didn't have as good hands as me, but he had great hands. But we had a lot of guys that had talent to make it to the next level. We were the last class, we were the first class that they changed the rule for.
Yeah.
So Jameer was having a draft party, and he found out that he wasn't going to be able to get drafted.
Yeah, I remember that.
The day of the draft.
Yeah, I remember that.
And not day one of the draft, the day two of the draft.
Yeah.
Was when we found out. So, I mean, you go from having, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that have talent to get to the next level, and now you tell them, hey, you can't go. I mean, like you said, we had a lot of transfers.
What also happened with Alohi Gilman too? He went to Notre Dame. Now he's on a charge. Just got re-signed for a couple mil.
Yep.
We had the safety from on Navy that went to Ole Miss and played for Ole Miss for a little bit. So.
Yeah, so I mean, you start to lose that talent because as much as we knew that getting to the league was going to be a hard route, especially coming from a service academy, there was always a chance.
Right.
Right. Like, I let myself get big, and I wasn't as flexible to do the things that I needed to do, and I still had teams that reached out to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like. That, so you have all these players that are seeking to get to the next level, and now you're telling them they can't, no matter how good they are. And I know for you it was probably the same, but for me, that was a big part of the pitch.
Yeah.
Why it's so hard for us to compete like we were beforehand. Because, I mean, not just we are the winningest class, but I mean, we went on a run of bowl games even before we got there.
Yeah.
Right. And, we had a lot of success for 10, 12 years. And, it started to turn. I think conference play was an underrated thing that people aren't really paying attention to.
I agree with that. And real quick, while I'm grabbing my rings to show the stream, can you talk about your favorite memories at the Academy and some of your worst memories at the Academy?
Ooh. Honestly, some of the best memories would really have to be with the people, right? So I tell people about the Navy as a whole, not really just the Naval Academy, but in the Navy, you're going to meet some of the best and some of the worst people you ever meet in your entire life. And there's going to be some people that you can't stand being in the same room with. And there's some people that you absolutely love and will spend the rest of your life talking to and about. So, like, all the memories that me, you, Jameer, Trey, Kyle, I mean, you talk about just our random nights going out.
Rest in peace, Kyle.
Yo, yeah, rest in peace, Kyle. I don't even know where Kyle is anymore. But I mean, you talk about, like, your 21st birthday.
Yeah.
Right, going out and doing craziness, right? You talk about all the spring break trips. You talk about, like, it's crazy that we're having this moment right here when a big part of the beginning of our relationship was NCAA 14.
NCAA 14. Now we're back in 24 or 25. That's crazy.
The last NCAA was the thing that we played every day that brought us closer, that really grew our friendship.
Yeah.
And like just some of those really small moments of like just being around your boys, being around the girls that came into your life and you have a similar struggle with were awesome. Like being able to fly a plane. Like how many people can say they did that? Right?
Sophomore year, that was a dope experience.
I license in college, but they let me fly a plane.
Yeah, that was a dope experience.
Right, like, going down, like we happened to be walking through the Target in the middle of the night, and me and Jameer see
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson and Sierra.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like just crazy experiences like that. The people you meet are, where it was about. The hard part was everything else, right? Like you go there, and I used to tell this to the recruits on all the recruiting visits. You know, before I got to the Naval Academy, I pretty much succeeded at everything.
Yeah.
Right? Like most of us that go there, we were pretty academically solid. We were pretty athletically solid. We were pretty well-rounded people with, you know, community service and doing things in our community. And the Naval Academy really taught you how to fail. Right? Like there's never going to be enough time to get all the tasks done. So how do you prepare to get the things that are most important done, prioritizing? You know, puts you in a lot of stressful situations that you got to try to work your way out of. That's both physically and mentally. You know, you make mistakes along the way. Like there's so many life lessons that you learn there, but just, you know, that you just gotta, you know, work through. And, you know, it's tough, and you don't really appreciate it until it's gone.
Well, I appreciate you stopping on, man. I appreciate you talking to the guys about, you know, what you see in the offense, strengths, weaknesses, your kind of experience at the academy. I know you're one of my good friends. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time to do this. So, Shawn recently engaged too. So if you guys are in the comment section, tell him congrats on being engaged recently. Also started a new job. So I'm happy for you, man. I'm excited to celebrate you and wifey in the future. So thanks for being on.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Maybach music. Can anybody out there hear me?